Hey up everyone, welcome back to the Rugby League History channel. Today I'll be doing my tips and predictions for round 5 of the 2024 NRL season. Last week I got 5 out of 8 correct. The week started off brilliantly and then towards the back end of the week it was a bit forgettable in terms of the tips, but let's see if we can do any better in round 5. And the first match to kick off round 5 happens on Thursday night. This one is between Melbourne and Brisbane and it's being played at Amy Park. When it comes to Brisbane, Melbourne are their ultimate bogey side. They finally got the monkey off their back last year in the qualifying final. They finally defeated Melbourne 26 points to 0 in that game. However, in the previous 15 meetings, Melbourne had won all of those. And in terms of Brisbane travelling down to Amy Park, their record hasn't been good there since that stadium was first opened. They've only won 3 of the 15 matches there. As for Brisbane, they still have a few players out. Everyone knows about Payne Haas and Reece Walsh, but also Brendan Piakura is going to be out for this game. As for Melbourne, from what I've read, they're welcoming back Cameron Munster and also Jerome Hughes. They've also had the week off with the bye, so they'll be fresh for this game, as opposed to Brisbane, who defeated North Queensland in the Queensland Derby last week. In this game, I do give Brisbane a chance of winning it. However, I'm going to go for the home side. I'm going to go for Melbourne. I just think with the week off, some players coming back, and that sort of bogey side feeling that they have with Brisbane, I'm going to go for Melbourne to win by 1 or 12 points. And the first match on the Friday is Canterbury Bankstown against Sydney Roosters. This one's being played at Stadium Australia. These two sides have met 179 times. East have won 93, Canterbury Bankstown's won 81, and there's been 5 draws. In recent times, East have dominated this fixture. They've won 9 of the last 10. Canterbury go into this game with some more injury woes. Josh Adokar won't be there. And also Preston's been ruled out for at least 4 weeks with, it looks to be, a fractured jaw. As for the Sydney Roosters, from what I've seen, they're going to be going into this match unchanged. There might be one possible player coming in, Lindsay Collins, but other than that, they're going to be unchanged from last week. With Canterbury and East, for me, it's a rivalry game. There's a lot of bitterness, bad blood between the two clubs. They go back a very long way. Lots of finals matches over the years, grand finals, lots of other incidents. Yes, it's not the same level as East and South or Parramatta or Canterbury, but it's still up there. For this match, I'm going to go for East to win by 112 points. I think Canterbury will put up a fight on Friday. However, I think just across the pitch, East will have a bit too much for them, so I'm going to go East to win by 112 points. And the main match on Friday night is between Newcastle and St George. This one is being played at Marathon Stadium in Newcastle. The head-to-head between these two clubs in recent times has been quite even. It slightly favours St George. They've won 6 out of the last 10 meetings. Now, before the season began, a lot of people in the media and the experts were saying Newcastle's going to have a good year, they're going to be up there again, and St George are going to be last, second last. Well, to start the year, Newcastle's only recorded the one victory, which was against Melbourne, who didn't have Hughes or Munster, and they only won by 2 points. And St George have been sort of up and down, but the 2 wins that they have had against Manly and the Gold Coast have been very impressive. With Newcastle, I have read that there is some rumblings behind the scenes because Hastings was demoted to reserve grade, Jack Cogger come in, and the performances from Jack Cogger haven't been living up to expectations, so there is a potential of Hastings coming back into this game for Newcastle. As for St George, from what I've read, they're going to remain unchanged for this match. This is a really hard game to call, probably one of the hardest games to call for the week. For this match, I will go for the home side, only because they're at home. I'll go for Newcastle to win by 1 to 12 points. If this was at Wollongong or Cogra Oval, I would lean more towards St George, but I will go for Newcastle to win with not a lot of confidence. And the first match on Super Saturday is between South Sydney and New Zealand. This one's being played at Stadium Australia. South Sydney have a really good record over New Zealand in recent times. They've won 9 of the last 10 meetings. However, to start the year, as we all know, South Sydney are in a bit of a crisis. They haven't been playing well. They finally recorded their first victory over Canterbury on Good Friday. However, from what I read, they weren't very convincing. They weren't very good. Some people have accused the NRL of match fixing and some other things. But anyway, they managed to get their first win of the year. But going into this game, they're going to be without Alex Johnston. He's out for about 4 to 6 weeks. As for New Zealand, they come into this match with no Luke Metcalf. However, Charles Nickel-Klugstad and Dylan Walker look like they're going to be returning for this game. Looking at this match, before the season began, this would have actually been a really tough game to call, but with the way that South have been playing and the way that New Zealand have been playing, I'll have to lean towards New Zealand. So I'm going to go for New Zealand to win this game by 1 or 12 points. I think that South Sydney weren't at their best against Canterbury, and I think New Zealand's on another level at the moment. So New Zealand 1 or 12. And the second match on Super Saturday is between Manly and Penrith. This one's being played at Brookfield Oval. In recent times, Penrith have dominated this fixture. They've won their last 8 matches against Manly in the NRL. The last time Manly defeated Penrith were in round 16 of the 2018 NRL season at Penrith Stadium. Going into this match, both teams don't really have a lot of injury concerns besides sort of the major one for Penrith, which is Nathan Cleary. However, they seem to do just fine without him last Friday. With Manly, they suffered an upset loss against St George at Wollongong on Saturday. Apparently Tom Trbojevic had a shocker, as did some of the other players in that squad. And with Penrith, it was just sort of business as usual against the Sydney Roosters. For this game, I think that the Penrith machine just keeps going along. I think they're going to win this match, so I'm going to go for Penrith to win by 1 or 12 points on the Saturday. I think that's Manly will be competitive. They'll give them a game, but I'm just going to go for Penrith to win. And the third and final match on Super Saturday is between Redcliffe and West Tigers. This one's being played at Suncorp Stadium. These two teams have only ever met once before. It were last year at the Western Sydney Stadium, and West Tigers won that game 24 points to 23. For this match, it looks like there's going to be no Max Plath for Redcliffe, and also for West Tigers, it looks like Lachlan Galvin won't be playing this match. I believe that he's going to be suspended for 2 games due to a hip drop tackle. With Redcliffe last week, they started sort of slowly out of the blocks against the Gold Coast and then powered home to win in the end. As for West Tigers, they've won 2 games in a row now. Against Parramatta, they just got over the line. It came down to a goal kick by Clint Gutherson, who missed it to the left-hand side. So, as a result, West Tigers won that 17 points to 16. By all reports, their defence was quite good. Parramatta had a lot of the ball, but they managed to hold them out. I've noticed in the last 24 hours there's been a lot of fawning over head coach Benji Marshall at West Tigers. Maybe it's down to the fact that West haven't been successful for a long time, or haven't strung a couple of wins together for a while, or maybe it's just the euphoria around him. I don't know, but I've read some comments where some people have said, oh, he's a great coach, he's turned the club around and all this caper. The guy's been in charge for 3 games. 3. He got battered in the first game against Canberra, and he's won the last 2. Let's see how the rest of this season pans out, or let's see how he goes next season or the year after that before you start calling him a good coach. It's only been 3 games. Settle down. It's the same as this Lachlan Galvin. At the start of the year, everyone's going, oh, he's the next big thing, he's going to be a superstar, all this caper. Well, I think West Tigers fans and some people that watch rugby league are a bit forgetful, because there was a certain player by the name of Luke Brooks who burst on the scene over 10 years ago for West, and how that ended up. And we've seen this before with West Tigers throughout the years that they haven't made the finals as well. They will put some games together. I remember in 2018, they beat Sydney Roosters and Melbourne in back-to-back weeks, and everyone went, oh, West have turned the corner. Well, guess what? They didn't make the finals that year. So for them, the key is these type of games are against Redcliffe. These ones that are potential banana skins, they have to win them. Because it's all well and good beating Cronulla convincingly, beating Parramatta at the Western Sydney Stadium, but if you can't beat the teams, say like St George, Redcliffe and all that, then what's the point? But anyway, got a bit sidetracked with the tip. For the game itself, because it's being played at Suncorp Stadium, I'm leaning more towards Redcliffe. I think there's going to be a big crowd out there on the Saturday. So I'm going to tip Redcliffe to win. I'm going to go for them to win by 1 to 12 points. I think it's going to be a high quality game, and I'll go for Redcliffe to win. And the first match on the Sunday is between North Queensland and the Gold Coast. This one is being played at the Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville. These two sides have met 31 times in the NRL. North Queensland's won 19 times. Gold Coast have won 12. With the last 10 meetings, North Queensland's won 6 and Gold Coast have won 4. With North Queensland, they started the year off great. They won the opening 3 matches, and then in round 4 it all came crashing down at Suncorp Stadium against arch rivals Brisbane in the Queensland Derby. As for the Gold Coast, they've had a total nightmare to start the year, haven't won a game yet. Also, they've had some key injuries to certain players. Things just haven't been going right for them to start the year. Definitely, out of all the teams I've watched play, they've been the worst so far in 2024. And it just seems like another false dawn at the Gold Coast. How many false dawns have I seen since the first Gold Coast side come in 1988? I don't know, I lost count around about the 7th false dawn that they had. And after the loss against Redcliffe over the weekend, Des Hasler, the new head coach, absolutely tore into the playing group. It weren't quite at the levels of when he was at Manly, where he ripped the door off the injuries, but it was getting pretty close to that. For this game as well, the Gold Coast are going to be without Keenan Paliasia. As for North Queensland, they pretty much remain unchanged. Highland Lukey is still out for them. Now, I wouldn't really consider this match to be a rivalry game, but certainly off the field and on social media platforms, there's definitely a lot of bad blood and a lot of spice whenever these two teams play between certain content creators out there that do YouTube and Instagram and some other things. So no doubt there's going to be lots of stories leading into this game, lots of taunts from both parties or some of the other parties at each other before this game and after the game finishes. But for this match, I will go for North Queensland to win. I think that North Queensland will win by 13 plus, and I think that they'll continue Gold Coast's miserable start of the year. And the final match to close out round 5 is between Canberra and Parramatta. This one's being played at Bruce Stadium in Canberra. The head-to-head between these two sides since Canberra entered the competition in 1982 is quite close. There's been 64 matches played. Parramatta's won 31, Canberra's won 33. And in the last 10 meetings between these two sides, they've both won 5 each. For Canberra, it looks like Zach Hoskin is not going to be playing, but Elliot Whitehead might be returning for this game. As for Parramatta, it looks like Bryce Cartwright might return, but there's a bit of a question mark on that. Now, last week, I tipped Canberra to beat Cronulla. They were up 18-0, and then they ended up losing, I think, 34 points to 20, and they totally capitulated. It was like the Faders of old, and Ricky Stewart tore into the playing group after that one. As for Parramatta, they had a narrow 1-point loss against the West Tigers. From what I saw on the highlights and the reports that I read, Parramatta dominated the game when it came to the possession, the field position. They just couldn't really convert any of their chances. They were quite wasteful. and Brad Arthur, the head coach, kind of accused them of trying to just go after a soft win. They didn't really turn up mentally or physically for the game. But they only did lose by just the 1 point. It came down to a conversion attempt by Gutherson after the siren had gone. The ball went to the left-hand side of the post and missed. And, you know, this type of stuff does happen. We've seen it in the past. Brock Lamb had a conversion after the siren to tie the game against Canterbury a couple of years ago. He missed, even though his conversion was worse. Or you had that time Paul Mamarovsky, similar kind of a position, a bit closer to the uprights. He missed, and Canterbury won the game on that occasion. So it does happen. I think if Moses were playing, then he wouldn't have kicked that goal and Parramatta would have won. As we all know, Gutherson is not the first choice kicker, and he does have the occasional shocker if he is asked to kick the ball on occasion. But I believe if Moses were playing, he would have slotted that goal. But going into this game, these two sides have had some good clashes in recent years. Parramatta historically don't have a good record in Canberra, although in recent times they have pulled off some good wins there. Round 6 2021 they beat them 35 points to 10 down there, and then the following year they won 28 points to 20 at Bruce Stadium. A bit of trivia though, Parramatta's worst ever defeat was at Bruce Stadium back in 1993. They lost 68 points to 0. For this game, however, though, I will tip Canberra to win by 1 to 12 points. I think just the fact that Moses isn't there, it really showed against the West Tigers. The club looked like they were struggling out there for a bit of direction and were struggling in attack. And he's one of the most important players at the club, if probably the most important. And as for Canberra, they're usually quite tough to play at home, and that's why I'm going to lean towards Canberra. So Canberra to win by 1 to 12 points. So that concludes my tips for round 5 of the 2024 NRL season. Hope you enjoyed these tips. Let me know who you're tipping in the comment section below, and let me know who you picked last week and how you did. Thanks to everyone that's made Rugby League history when it comes to the tipping videos, one of the most watched tipping channels. Once again, lots of people tuned in. Thanks very much to everyone that tuned in, it's much appreciated. So this has been Rugby League history. I'm going to get out of here and I'll catch us all later in the next one. Alright, ta-ra for now.